Warning. This podcast may contain spoilers from whatever TV show or movie is mentioned. Please listen at your own discretion. Welcome to Viewers Anonymous.
Yo, what's going on? I am Scoots Bronson.
And I am S. Foster.
That's right. You tuned into another episode of the Viewers Anonymous podcast, where we give you our very own reviews and takes of movies and TV straight out of Hollywood. What's up with you, buddy?
Man, can't call it, man. Just happy to be back in the lab, man. I think we got a pretty interesting movie lined up for the folks today, man. So but I'm good though, man. How about you, man? How you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling great. I have no complaints. Enjoying myself, man. This has been a great week. My boys got with me early, you know what I'm saying, right before school starts, so I get to kick it with them right before they go back to school. Got a lot of time with them, so I'm excited about that.
That's what's up, man. Glad to hear it.
Absolutely. So today, this episode is extremely interesting for pro wrestling fans. You know what I'm saying, far and wide. This is about the most famous and infamous wrestling family to date. They have been an inspiration to a various number of wrestlers throughout the years and decades upon wrestling, and also they are one of the main inspirations behind the biggest pro wrestling market and factory and organization and system and every other word you could think of that's a synonym of those. The WWE. Today we're talking about the movie Ironclaw, about the Von Erich family. Now I'm be honest with you. It's a slow burn.
Oh yeah.
Very slow burn. I fell asleep on all this shit multiple times. Okay. I thought this was gonna be something different. And it's not what I thought it was gonna be. So I'm a little bit limited here. But I still know not a lot, but I know enough about the Von Erich family. And, you know what I'm saying, their influences over the years, the people that, you know what I'm saying, worked with them and had connections with them. From my time of watching WWF/WWE, growing up, being a major fan of wrestling. And this is also one of the most tragic stories to happen in wrestling amongst, you know what I'm saying, the few that we've witnessed over the years. And there have been a few, but this one I believe is probably the most because of what they did for the sport and the entertainment of, you know what I'm saying, pro wrestling. So your first time watching this, what were your thoughts?
Okay, so my first time watching it, I pulled a Scoots Bronson. I fell asleep on it. So so honestly, man, honestly, I fell asleep on it, but it was super slow.
Mm-hmm.
And then so once I knew that we was gonna be watching this or doing this on the pod, I was like, all right, man, let me get into this. So I restarted it from the beginning, and once again, slow burn. Probably about 35 minutes. It's like and for me, like when everything changed, it was when Kevin was getting married at his wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, but first thing that I noticed about this movie that really turned me off was the father.
Yeah.
Because now I know, like back in the day, like those was a lot of like the raising tactics. You know what I'm saying? That you would do when you had like multiple sons and stuff like that. I didn't like the whole stuff of ranking them. I just don't believe in you just going there. You're my favorite, you're my next favorite, you're my next favorite. But you know what I'm saying? But the rankings can always change. Nah, bro.
Hey man, you gotta spice it up, man. That's how you.
Man,
You gotta spice that parenting up every now and then, man.
I didn't like that, man. And I also didn't like how he tried to make like. I think what he was trying to do was create this competition between all of them to try to like to get them to do better.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that that could create like, you know what I'm saying. Now I think the brothers were so close that it didn't go the negative route.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like if you have some boys who, got a little bit more of an ego, the shit can go left. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But I think that they had so much love for each other that they didn't let any other brother's success, you know what I mean, make them feel away. But I do think
Mm-hmm.
Kevin was the one who really got jealous. And I think that the multiple times that he got jumped, even though he was like, so Kevin was the quote
He was the
unquote,
most talented.
he was, and he also was the, like I was about to say, quote unquote oldest, but he technically wasn't the oldest because
Mm-hmm.
the oldest died when,
Right.
I think when Kevin was 5, I
That
believe,
was
the way they explained it.
Jack Jr.
So he was the let's say he was the living oldest. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, he was the most talented, he was the most jacked, but for some odd reason he would always get jumped. Um and so I noticed that when he would get jumped, he would show like these tendencies of jealousy.
Yeah.
But and I think the father would kind of like, I don't know if he was using that to try to motivate him or what, but like the shit didn't really go down that way. I don't know. I just felt that this movie was like, once we get into the shits, like it really, because I didn't know anything about this family. The only reason I even mentioned this movie was for two reasons. For number one, it was a newer movie, and number two, I know you're big into wrestling.
Yeah.
So but before we like kind of get really like into that, like when you first like got into wrestling, like when it really really like caught your eye, like who was like those main characters who had you wanting to sit in front of that TV like
Oh
every week?
man. Oh
Like who
man.
who 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 were the people?
So first and foremost, when I was into wrestling, this was like early '90s, right?
Hmm.
This is when it was WWF before the other WWF sued the wrestling company and was like, nah, we can't have the same name because of the violence or whatever. That was a whole
Hmm.
big thing in the early '90s. If anybody is around our age, you might remember that. Um, but so I remember, you know what I'm saying, the some of the major guys were like Big Boss Man, Macho Man Randy Savage, Jake the Snake, Hulk Hogan, um, um, the Road Warriors. I'm trying to think who else was it. Like Ravish and Rick Rude, um, Ultimate Warrior. Uh, you had um you had Vader, you had the Undertaker, you had Ted DiBiase. I mean, like you had the classics, Ric Flair. Like you had those guys who were, you know what I'm saying, like at the height of it all. These were like the stars, and we used to watch Saturday. It was like Saturday main event or main event Saturday or something, and it would come on like early in the morning. So I'd be over my cousin's house. We'd be eating cereal. Boom, wrestling come on. You know what I'm saying? You watch wrestling, and then right after you get done eating the cereal, you start wrestling. You know what I'm saying? It was like that. So I was like really, really into it. So I started off with WWF, and eventually came along WCW. Um, and I started watching WCW. That was a little bit more interesting for me, at least. And my aunt was a huge, huge wrestling fan, so she would watch it all the time. So I would always watch like, what I'm saying, the pay per views and all that with her. So we would always watch that. So then I got into WCW, and around the time this happened, WWF was turned into the Attitude Era. So that's when you had like Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock. You had, Triple H. That's when Vince McMahon started wrestling. You know what I'm saying? His son would come out. Stephanie McMahon was involved in it at this time. You had, the Hardy Boys. You had the Dudley Boys. You had like a whole bunch. Like this is when it really took off. this was when like WWF was the main product. You know what I'm saying? It was the WCW Nitro and WWF Monday Night Raw Wars. Like they was going back and forth with each other. So you know what I'm saying? Like it's been a lot of different things over the years that has really kept me interested. As I grew older, I kind of like got away from it, but around that time, like early on, I was in it. I had the bed sheets. I had my mom bought me this. No, for real. I still got them. Like I had the bed sheets. Well, I still got the bed sheets. I had this table. It was a WrestleMania table where the table was shaped like a ring, and one seat was Hulk Hogan, and the other seat was Ultimate Warrior. And now that I think back, that's an awfully weird way to make like children's tables. But during the time, it was the shit. You know what I'm saying? Like during the time, it was the shit. And my favorite wrestler was Ultimate Warrior because like he would just come out, like his music would play, he run to the ring, he shake the ropes and shit. You know what I'm saying? Gorilla press slam somebody. I'm like, yo, this nigga is the shit. Like he's strong as fuck. He was crazy. He used to say shit that didn't make sense. I was with that shit. And then like, not for real, bro. Like the Ultimate Warrior was my nigga. It still is. That's my favorite wrestler of all time, bro. But during all that, like, you know what I'm saying, I used to go to the library. Like me and my mom would go to the library. And remember, I used to talk about going to the library and getting like Titanic,
the Wiz and
Wiz.
all that shit. Yeah.
Yeah. The shit that I would get as far as books and stuff was WWF magazines. They had the whole magazine thing out. And so that's how I would keep up with the WWF. Because remember, I watched WCW around that time.
Yeah.
So I would watch WCW, read up on WWF, and then I was, you know what I'm saying, I was in the know of everything that was happening. So yeah, I was like really, really into it. So much so that we made belts in school one time. We had this thing that we did that everybody made a belt. You know what I'm saying? And in school, you got all the supplies to make whatever. And so me being like super fucking creative, I made a belt, but while everybody else is in class making a belt, I'm just making an outline for mine. So when I made the outline, I go home and start cutting out cardboard, and I'm putting it over the, you know what I'm saying, over the what's that shit called? Construction paper. I'm putting it over the construction paper to make mine like thicker and like a real belt. So when we get to school, you know, I got the belt that looked like a real belt. Everybody want my belt. And this is the time that Goldberg is like one of the biggest wrestlers, and he was on the undefeated streak. And so like I stole his move. I just stole the spear. I was playing football, so I know the tackle, so that was my move. So yeah, it was, man, wrestling has been a part of my life for a very long time. But because of that, I've always heard about the Von Erich family, you know what I'm saying, what they meant to wrestling and pro wrestling. So much so, like, you know, they influenced Vince McMahon to go create WWF. A lot of the wrestlers that ended up in WWF came from the I think it's the WCCW or WCWW. I think that's what they were a part of at first. It's the WCCW. But that's where a lot of the wrestlers came from. You know, you had guys like Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, Randy Savage, and all them that eventually came over to WWF, and eventually they switched back and forth between WWF and WCW. So when I say like this family really was very, very important and instrumental in all of the success that these guys ended up having, like they really are. Like they were very, very big. WWF enshrined them in the Hall of Fame. I want to say when was this? 2009. You know what I'm saying? So that was a major, major thing for everybody who watched wrestling, knowing that the Von Erich family was enshrined, and you know what I'm saying, like their names was gonna be forever remembered in the Hall of Fame. And that was very, very special. That was a special moment for everybody.
Yeah, see, I like, for me, it's a little different. Like for me, like the only reason I knew like the things that I'm about to say is because like my dad used to watch it, you know what I'm saying, when I was young. So for me, like the people who stood out to me was immediately Booker T stood out to me. Like I thought he was just the coolest dude ever. So it was like for me,
was it when he was solo or tag team?
When he was tag team.
Yeah, him and Stevie Ray. Problem Heat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was like it was Booker T, Undertaker for me.
Hmm.
Sting. I thought Sting was cool as fuck.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so I like Sting. Um, so it was more kind of like that era. Then I remember when the New World Order came and like the Sting. I think if I remember correctly, he became like a villain or some shit.
Nah, man,
When
yeah, because okay, so the interesting story behind that is that initially Sting was supposed to be the guy he was supposed to be the good guy in that situation, but he was already like he was already a heel in the whole thing. So it was like, well, we just gonna have like a heel versus heel thing, and like Sting ended up becoming babyface from that. So he ended up becoming a good guy from that beef that he had with the NWO.
yeah. So I like a good bit of people from that era, like you said. Um, so like I watched a little bit of the transition.
Mhm.
I caught like the beginning era of like Goldberg and
Yeah,
so then Kane, then we find out that Kane and Undertaker were brothers and shit, and
yeah, good times.
like because that was like the beginning of the Rock and shit. So
Hmm.
but then that's when I kind of started going away. You want to know somebody I did not like?
I
I
gotta hear
did,
this.
I did not like Kurt Angle, man.
Really?
I hated that motherfucker, man.
I'm not too mad at you, but I wasn't really fond of him. But like, I appreciated what he brought to the table. But
Yeah,
yeah, Kurt Angle was the man.
nah, he wasn't.
Yeah,
I
he was
never
the
liked
man.
that dude.
That ankle lock, yo, that ankle lock, bro. That was everything, bro.
I just never liked it, man. But
You know who I
but
didn't
my
like?
who?
JBL, John Bradshaw Layfield. I couldn't stand that motherfucker, bro. I
I
hated
don't
him
remember
with
him.
all passion. He was just
I
a
don't-
trash wrestler to me, bro. His move was called the clothesline from hell, where he would throw you into the ropes. He would throw you into the ropes, and he would go into the ropes and then just clothesline you. It was corny, bro. I was like, bro, this nigga is he was supposed to be like a Texas billionaire that just decided to wrestle. I'm like, bro, this is a horrible gimmick. Like, how does this shit is trash? Like, what billionaire just wants to wrestle? This is not how billionaires work. But yeah,
Oh
them was some
man,
good times.
funny. But nah, though. So like, man, look, forget the beginning of the movie because the beginning of the movie just for me
It's a
it
slow
just didn't
burn.
do it. Like it's
Yeah,
a
it's a slow
really
burn.
slow burn. So like for me, like I said, the turning point of the movie was what I'm saying, Kevin, finally met somebody who really kind of spoke his language because all he ever did and talked about was everything had to do with family and brothers. And this
Mm-hmm.
girl was able to, to break through that threshold, you know what I'm saying, give him
Good
some
old
for the
Peyton.
first time and all this shit. Cause he was a virgin and everything. Like he just never came
Yeah.
out of
No, the
working
nigga
out
never wrestled.
and brothers. Like, yeah, like so anyway, he's getting married. And so before the wedding, there was a shot at a title match or
Yeah.
whatever. And so the dad chooses David to be like the one to do the title match or whatever
Mm-hmm.
and fight against. I think both times it was Ric Flair.
Mm-hmm.
So he was supposed to do a few matches or whatever.
Is hold
Then
on. Is this the one? Is this the one like the very first match that they showed
that
in
they
the movie?
show.
Yeah, the one.
No, because this is
Okay,
no,
I'll
this
tell
is
you.
later.
Yeah, I'll check it. The one that they showed in the beginning was Harley Race.
Yeah,
Trash name, by the way.
very. So they so he does these few matches or whatever. So now he's
Mm-hmm.
about to go after the wedding. He's going to Japan.
Yeah.
But when Kevin goes into the bathroom, he hears somebody throwing up. But he's thinking, "Oh man, had too many already. This this that." He
Mm-hmm.
go in there and it's David and it's blood like all in the fucking toilet. And he was like, "Yo,
Mm-hmm.
are you all right?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I just gotta get this out of me." He was like, "Yo, do you think you need to go to Japan?" And he was like, "I'll be fine." He was like, if you don't want to go, you shouldn't go. He was like, if you don't think you're ready, blase, blase. He was like, nah, I'm good. And so the next scene you see, Kevin is coming home, but they got one of those driveways where just only one car could fit. So he kind of got like go off into the curb, and he see this car just pass him, and he looks at the car like, what the fuck? So he goes down the driveway, goes into his house. Dad just sitting there, just staring off into space. He was like, what's wrong? He said, David passed away. He was like, what you mean he passed away?
Mm-hmm.
So now, technically, this is their second child to die.
Yep.
Right? So they go to the funeral and shit. And so they ended up like appointing Kerry, which was the brother that was in the Olympics. He didn't even wrestle in the beginning.
Right.
You know, because he threw like, he threw the disc and thing like that. And so Kerry is like, now he's chosen to be the guy that's supposed to go for, because, well, what happened was, before the funeral, Kevin and Kerry and the other brother, which was what was the other brother name? Mike. So they sitting there and they all got sunglasses on. They're crying and shit. So Dad come out there, take those sunglasses off, and y'all stop crying. No man's supposed to ever cry and all this fucking bullshit from the 70s and shit. And
well,
so
Dad had to be like a nigga from the, I don't know, the 50s. And that was a rough ass time, bro.
That's what I'm saying. Like those parenting tactics, man.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
You had to, like, that's when like that be a man thing. You had to be a man in the fucking 50s, bro. Like niggas was getting shot in Chicago by mobsters at the deli. Niggas had to be men, bro. That's a rough ass. No, for real, that's a rough ass. Like, think about this, bro. John Dillinger and them was running a fucking muck. Them niggas was breaking out of prisons.
This motherfucker stupid, man.
Bro,
no,
imagine hearing that shit on the news. You thinking that the world is safe, and he's like, "Yeah, these niggas broke out of prison today." That's some wild shit.
No, look, I'm not mad at them, but it's like, you know, the whole thing of like just telling them to hide and just don't show any emotion for the brother that they grown up with all this time just died suddenly, and he's telling them not to cry type shit.
But imagine how many niggas that Dad seen die. Like wild shit though. I ain't talking about like normal deaths. Like niggas are dying of like tuberculosis and shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and then like you seen Greece, they had like gangs and shit. Like, bro, that was a wild ass time.
No, and I wish I could remember what the brother died from. It was I feel like it was some kind of poisoning or something. I feel like it was. I think it was some kind of food poisoning or something. So they're sitting on the porch, and they're sitting around.
Enteritis.
So what is it? Is that some type of poisoning?
Yeah, you're right. It's like contaminated food or drink.
Yep. Yep, that's what it was.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So they're sitting there. So Kevin is already, because when he appointed David, he was like, "Yo, I'm the oldest," and he chooses David. So now he's like, "Oh, but this is my time. This is my time now." And then he's like, "Kerry, you gonna, be the one to go for the fight, the title." And he's like, what the fuck? He's like, he jumps me again? Like, what the fuck is going on? So now Kerry is out there, and he wins. He ends up getting the belt.
Yeah.
And so the same day he got the belt, he's drinking and shit. They're celebrating. And he looks at Kevin like, "Man, he's like, I'll be back. I'm going to take a ride on my bike." Take a ride on his bike. And so like the screen kind of go black.
Mm-hmm.
So then we just see somebody get out of a bed. And then you see the person getting crutches. Come to find out, you see all these scratches and stuff on the shoulder. Camera goes down. This motherfucker missing a foot. So it's like, what the, like, someone gets inside a fight, wrecks his damn bike, and loses a fucking foot. It's like, what is going on here? So then you're thinking, well, nothing else can certainly go wrong. So then Mike, who is really a musician, now the pops force him to wrestle.
Right.
So now Mike is out here wrestling, don't know nothing about this shit, just doing it. So he's doing the whole little move, where you jump up in the air, you 2 foot kick somebody, and then you fall down, and so that because the drop kick. So a lot of their fights are tag team matches.
Yeah.
Well, they're tag team, so it's always multiple guys in the thing. So Mike kept doing it. He'll jump kick, drop kick, boom, drop kick somebody else, boom, drop kick somebody else, end up falling on the shoulder, separates his fucking shoulder, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you thinking, routine, you know what I mean? Go in there, pop that bitch back, nothing, right? They go in there, the doctors come out because they're all in the damn waiting room and shit. They was like, well, we was working on him, and he didn't take well of it and fell into a coma. What do you mean he's in a coma, man?
Wow,
it's like, dude, I'm sitting here, I'm dumbfounded at this point. I'm like, yo, what is really going on here? So then you're thinking, certainly nothing else can go wrong. Then I do a press conference, and you can tell that Mike lost oxygen to his brain, because now, you know how people, are when, I'm trying to think, what would you call it? You can just tell that he's not normal anymore. Like his speech is slurred, he just lost, some oxygen to his brain. So now he's like slower. So now I'm like, okay, like this family now gone through it. You thinking like this is it. There's certainly nothing else that can go wrong here. And that's why I found myself to be wrong again.
Right.
Now, Kerry, he's trying to make a comeback. So now he got this like prosthetic like foot or whatever. He's trying to make a comeback. But he's in so much pain, like trying to force himself to fucking wrestle and shit. He's taking like a lot of pain pills and all this type of shit. And he's telling, so Kevin, at this point, Kevin now turned into a family man. You know what I'm saying? He got 2-3 kids and shit. You know what I'm saying? His dad got him kind of like running the gym and, setting up fights and all types of stuff like that. So Kerry calls and he's like, hey, I don't think I can do this no more. I was like, what you mean? He's like, man, I'm in pain all the time. Like, I just don't want to be here no more. So he's trying to talk to him like, man, don't talk like that this day. So he hang up on his ass. So then Kevin calls his pops. Hey, you need to check on Kerry.
Wrong person.
Thank you. So he goes over to the house. And it's not funny, man.
Yes, it is, bro. Because if a nigga call you, bro, and he tell you, hey, man, I'm sick of this shit, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm having these thoughts. I don't know if I want to do this shit no more. I don't know if I want to be here. You call the one person who don't have no sympathy in the world, and you make that nigga, nah, man, wrong person to call. Horrible decision.
Well, this is the thing, though. So I think Kerry stayed at the house.
Yeah.
So I think that's why he called his dad, because his dad was the closest to him. Because he could just go to another room and see him. And because Kevin had his own spot with his wife and his kids. So he goes over there, and so he gets out of his car. He's walking toward the house. Gets on the steps, hear a fucking gunshot.
That's it.
But the gunshot come from outside. So this motherfucker runs over there. He done shot himself.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're thinking, all right. And now the mom's is like, she's like
she definitely going through it.
She going through it because she's sitting there because like these like it was back to back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so she's like, yo, the shit happened so fucking fast to where now I'm trying to get my timeline right. My timeline might be a little wrong, but anyway, so she's staring at the dress like, yo, I can't put the dress on.
Right.
And it was Kevin's wife that she was talking to. And she's like, I literally just wore this dress.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, people saw me in this dress. I can't go to the funeral in the same dress. So then next thing you know, Chris, like I said, lost oxygen to his brain. So now he's like, fuck it. So he takes his own life.
Mm-hmm.
And so now Kevin is sitting here. He had all these siblings, and now he ain't got none.
Right.
I'm like, yo, man, this is crazy.
And it was
I ain't
what was
never seen no shit like
interesting.
this.
What was interesting about this whole story is that early in the film when he first meet Pam, he talked to Pam about how they call this thing that they got in the family a Von Erich curse, and
Yeah.
um the dad had changed his last name from, I think it was, what is it, Atkinson, and he changed it to his mother's name, Von Erich, and that's what he would wrestle under, was Fritz Von Erich. And the one thing that he always wanted to do was be a champion, but when he changes his name to Fritz Von Erich, he never wins the championship. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And to me, I thought the craziest thing of all this was how he overlooked Kevin so much, but Kevin was the most successful one out of all of them, and the most successful one earlier on, and the most talented one. But he never gave Kevin that, you know what I'm saying, like that time to go do something. All because of when Kevin was wrestling Harley Race, it was I think they did a suplex move outside of the ring, and he landed on his back on concrete.
Yeah.
Now he had previously had an injury from playing football, in which had ended his football careers, and that's why he ended up going into wrestling. But he had previously had an injury, so finally when he shake it off, he finally get up, he get back to wrestling, and he win through a disqualification. His brother jumped, I think it was David who jumped in the ring and cut a promo. For anybody that don't know what I'm talking about, cutting a promo is when they grab the mic and start talking. So David is, doing a great job at the promo, and his dad, that's when his dad seen that David, or felt like David might be ready to, take the helm of this thing. And that's when he started showing David all the love that he did, because he thought David did such a great job. And he was, like kind of disappointed in Kevin. So he never gave Kevin that opportunity to really do anything. What was crazy was that Kevin was the heavyweight champion of the wrestling league that they were in, though, before they
Mhm.
start working with the WCCW.
And then when Kevin finally did get a title shot,
Mm-hmm.
Ric Flair come up again. Now, the actor that they had playing Ric Flair was hilarious, guy.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you. I'm talking about to a standpoint of like Ric Flair, we got to give it to him. Probably like was the most entertaining guy. You
Who
put
you
that dude
talking
on the
about?
mic.
The wheeling, dealing, jet flying, kiss stealing, champagne sipping, limousine riding, son of a gun couldn't keep them gators down? Of course.
Yo, when Carlos Miller reenacted that shit, that might have been like the
Man,
funniest thing ever,
come on, man. Ric Flair is a
man.
legend, bro.
So
He's an Atlanta legend too. At that,
yeah, it's just funny. Like I'm just talking about the actor that played him. Like it was
yeah,
terrible. Like he was like but it's hard to do. I will say it's hard to duplicate Ric Flair.
absolutely,
Hard to
absolutely.
duplicate it. So
I'm gonna tell you why, real quick before you go. I'm gonna tell you why. Because Ric Flair has such an eccentric personality. When he's playing that character, he has such an eccentric personality that it's very difficult to like mimic that, because you don't really know like what the premise of that character is. Like, he talks
yeah,
about how he's like this fly fancy dude, but you don't never see him like being real like fire fancy though. And then like when he wrestled like dirty. So like you don't understand like what the fuck this character really is. Then on top of that, there was, I think it was AEW. It was either AEW or TNA. It was one of those wrestling organizations that happened. But Ric Flair was in it. And it was another dude who it was this black dude who was one of the wrestlers or whatever, and he had the belt or whatever. And Ric Flair wanted to challenge him. He's a younger black dude, but this nigga came out and started imitating Ric Flair. So they going, they cutting the promo, they going back and forth, and and at the end of it, they just started going woo to each other. So Ric Flair be like woo. So the black dude was like something woo. So Ric Flair get mad. He's like you don't do that. You don't do that. You're not me. You can never be me. Woo. So the black dude go no, I'm better than you. Woo. And then they just start going woo back and forth, bro. That's the funniest shit I've ever seen on television, bro. It was the greatest thing I've ever seen in wrestling. That was, I promise you, bro. It was just, and then in the midst of all that, they start throwing down. Ric Flair threw down he threw down the microphone, and then when he threw down the mic, it's him and like a couple of dudes in the ring. So he throws down the microphone. He runs into the ropes. He runs back, stops, and then do an elbow drop just on the ring. Nobody's up under him or nothing. He just do the elbow drop on the ring. So the dude, he imitated. He on the stage. He run like he hit the rope. He come back and he do an elbow drop on the stage. So Ric Flair get up. He run back into the ropes. He come back again, do a knee drop. So the dude take his jacket off. He fake it like he hit the ropes again. He run back and he do a knee drop on the stage, bro. It's the funniest shit in the world, bro. This nigga was like when they was going back and forth and they was talking. So he was like, the black dude was like, yeah, old man. He was like, you know what? He was like, you just mad because they tore old Space Mountain down. Don't you be mad, old man. And he was like, hey, on this ride. And he put himself, it was like longest line. He said, I bet you any amount of money, any one of these women will give anything that they want to give me a kiss. And then he went to this lady and pointed at her and was like, even that fat one right there, bro, that shit was bro, I'm telling you, greatest shit I've ever seen from Ric Flair, bro. Like when I tell you he is the ultimate entertainer, bro. He is definitely the ultimate entertainer. So I can understand why it would be hard to like reenact that in the movie. That's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, it was definitely difficult for him to do. But so he goes and he fights. So Kevin finally gets his chance. He's fighting Ric Flair. Now they went over, how the shit's supposed to go. So like the way, if the people that don't know, like, because I used to be the person, but I used the wrong word. I used to always say wrestling fake. But what I meant to say was it's just like staged, basically.
Absolutely.
Like, so there's a script.
That's a way better word. Yeah,
it's just more scripted. It's not fake because these motherfuckers get injured like crazy. Like it's really dangerous if you're not knowing what you're doing. So I don't want to use the word fake like I used to when I was young. So they going over the script on how this shit's supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
So then they go into the ring. And so, like you said, and I didn't really know this about Rick. You said he kind of dirty.
Yeah. So
he was doing some moves on Kevin, and it was one where he kicked him, and he really kicked him for real.
Yeah.
So Kevin like, fuck this. So he does his dad move, the Ironclaw,
mm-hmm.
and he's squeezing his head and shit. So Ric Flair makes his way to the rope, and so they like, yo, we that to the rope, supposed to let go. Well, he didn't let go. He kept holding that thing. Ric Flair bleed like a fuck.
Yeah.
And so he get disqualified. So so that was really like the end of Kevin in that instance.
Mm-hmm.
Was because he ended up going off script with Ric Flair, whatever, and Ric Flair was more of a name at that time. Well, he was like the name at that time,
right.
And for him to even do it, Ric Flair was giving them a good look.
Mm-hmm.
Really, at the end of the day, so like I just thought Kevin got shitted on, and I really felt bad for him at the end of the movie because there's a scene at the end of the movie where he's sitting in the yard and he's watching his kids play, and he's just sitting there like Indian style, just balling like his kids playing football in the yard, and like they're
mm-hmm.
jumping over each other and all this type of shit. So he was just reminiscing.
Yeah.
Like this was me and my brothers like growing up. So he's sitting there crying, And so his two boys run over to him, and he's like, "Dad, like, why are you crying?" And he was like, saying the same shit his dad said. I'm a man. I don't supposed to cry and all this type of shit. So his sons was like, "Yo, Dad, you can cry in front of us. Like it's okay." And
Mhm.
he was like, "I'm crying because I'm thinking about my brothers." He was like, he's like, "I'm not a brother anymore." And his kids looked at him and said, "Dad, we can be your brothers now." And it was just like, I mean,
Biggest
the
all
yeah,
moment.
yeah, like it was a great thing to write into the script, man,
Mhm.
because in this moment, like, especially, if you get like feel like super tight with the siblings and shit like that, like, and you notice like throughout the movie, like how tight they was, and to know that even there was a scene in the movie where he talked about how the only thing he remembers when his oldest, well, when the oldest one died, he said, "I just remember just having somebody to play with, and then the next day they were gone." And he
Yeah.
was like, "That's all he remembers from his older brother." So
Yeah.
I just thought that I was like, "Yo, man," I was like, "This movie is a fucking tragedy. Like this shit is sad as
Absolutely.
fuck, man.
It's
Like
one of
it."
the it's like I said, it's one of the wildest stories in pro wrestling, man. Amongst like I said, amongst others, we know about Chris Benoit and what I'm saying, Owen Hart. Um, we know about Eddie Guerrero and China and all of those people. So it's been some dark moments in wrestling for sure.
Especially like the type of entertainment that they do.
Hmm.
Um, you know what I'm saying? And you think it's like it's all fun and games, and then
Hmm.
like especially like when it comes to like the dark side of wrestling and shit,
Yeah.
like the injuries, the painkillers, the
Hmm.
injections that these dudes are getting,
Addictions, all that. Yeah.
yeah, the surgeries that they're getting, like, and then like you're starting to see, like, I remember there was a stretch like around, I think this was around like the 2018ish to like 2022, somewhere up in there. There was a lot of wrestlers dying, and like at like 50, 45 or
Oh
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it was a little stretch around that time where
yeah,
it's like, dang, like this dude passed away, this dude passed away,
yeah.
and it was just like you started like looking around at like all of these other wrestlers, like, like we better look out for these dudes, and that's why I'm not surprised that you look at a guy like Stone Cold Steve Austin
Uh-huh.
and The Rock getting in the movies. Then next thing you know, John Cena jumping in the
Well,
movies and stuff.
that's an interesting thing because that kind of started. Um, of course, we know like Hulk Hogan and what I'm saying, all those guys they were in movies before. Like Macho Man Randy Savage has been in movies. Hulk Hogan has been in movies. Jake the Snake, what I'm saying, Roberts has been in movies. Um, just a bunch of
Kane
those
did see
guys.
no evil.
Yeah, yep. Kane was in movies, but what really kicked that off was Stone Cold Steve Austin. At as far as the level that the wrestlers are at now, Stone Cold Steve Austin kicked that off. He had a movie called damn, the was it the Marine, or was no? I think John Cena was.
No, John Cena did the
John
Marine.
Cena was the Marine. It was a movie that Stone Cold Steve Austin did that mimicked
Did he
what.
do? Did he do something before The Longest Yard?
That's what got him into act. It was a movie that he did. I forget what this movie is called, but it was a movie that he did that the WWE was behind. They were the production company behind this movie, and it was an action movie. And Stone Cold Steve Austin was supposed to be like this Rambo style dude who was just like running through shit and whooping everybody's ass. And so when that happened, of course, Stone Cold Steve Austin now, because of what they already do, what I'm saying, he can do his own stunts and everything else. So now these production companies start looking into these wrestlers. And so you start getting the John Cena's getting into movies. You start getting, the Dave Batista's getting into movies. You start getting, what I'm saying, The Rock with all his experience getting into these movies. And that's initially what these guys do. They do a lot of fight choreography, they do a lot of acting, and they do, a lot of stunts and shit. And so because of Stone Cold Steve Austin, like a lot of these guys today are on major movie platforms because of, you know what I'm saying, the stuff that he did and what Hollywood seen from him. Because that movie did pretty well for it to be from, you know what I'm saying, like WWE. I forgot what the fuck that movie is called, but it was a pretty decent action movie.
Yeah, I remember when the Marine came out, and I'm
Hmm.
telling you, I did not think like to see like what John Cena is like right now. I did not see that coming, dude. Like I
I
didn't.
didn't either. I didn't know he would be so funny.
He definitely is
He
funny.
is
Like
fucking hilarious.
he got a scene in the Bear, dude. He's in one episode of the Bear,
Yeah.
like and like he's like the uncle, and it's like he like hunts people, and it's like there's these
That's
scenes where
hilarious.
he's just like just standing over you, and he's like
Yeah.
hunting you, like it's just funny, and like he's like buffing floors and shit, like that shit
Yeah.
was hilarious as fuck.
That's fucking
But
hilarious.
no,
I
I
kind of knew he was funny though. Like when he first started wrestling, because remember he used to be like he used to be a bad guy
yeah
before he did the Marine. So when before he did the Marine, he used to be like this dude from Massachusetts who rapped. I mean, what is he was supposed to be this dude from Boston who was a rapper, like Marky Mark.
yeah
So that was the whole thing between I forgot what movie it was, but him and Mark Wahlberg was in the movie, and that was supposed to be like the whole gimmick was the fact that they put him in the movie because when he was wrestling, his character was supposed to be Marky Mark, but the wrestling version of Marky Mark, because he used to rap and he used to be like word life and all that shit. That shit used to be funny as fuck, bro. He used to freestyle on niggas. That shit used to be crazy. But an interesting thing though is I don't know if you remember the wrestler Jeff Jarrett.
nah, it's not
he
ringing a
was
bell.
in he was in WCW. I think he went to like a few other programs, but he used to have a guitar. He used to have a guitar and he used to like hit people with the guitar and shit. But um one of his famous moments was it was like this big sham in wrestling at WCW where Hulk Hogan, because he was so famous and because of who he was able to kind of like write his storylines. He had like a lot of input in his storylines. And the thing that was going around was that Hulk Hogan never wrote himself to lose. And if he did write himself to lose, it would have to be against somebody who was like able to match his like level of popularity. And
Yeah,
so I forgot what the dude's name is, but he was new to WCW. They brought him over there and he was supposed to help WCW get their ratings and stuff back up. This is all during the WCW Nitro WWE Raw war. And it was at like a pay-per-view and Jeff Jarrett is supposed to fight Hulk Hogan. Well, it was written, the dude wrote it as Jeff Jarrett is supposed to defeat Hulk Hogan and win the belt because he was gaining popularity with the fans or whatever. Um, he ends up finding out what happened because Hulk Hogan goes back and complains to Eric Bischoff and all this other stuff. So Jeff Jarrett comes out, he gets in the ring, and he soon as the bell dings, he lays down in the middle of the ring. Hulk Hogan stepped on him. He was complaining, of course, but Hulk Hogan eventually ends up stepping on him. It's a 3 count. Hulk Hogan wins the belt and he leaves. Well, Jeff Jarrett is the son of the guy that Kevin sold his wrestling league to.
oh okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a scene where Kevin was telling his dad that he was gonna sell it because he needed to
Yeah.
get like a place and all this type of shit. He needed a
So
bigger place for his family, and
right.
his dad was like, "You sell it, like don't ever like speak to me again," type of thing.
Hmm.
So like, but I also think Kevin was done with him at that point anyway
Well, yeah.
because he was like when he told him to look after Carrie, and like you said, he definitely called the wrong person,
Hmm.
and he blamed his dad for Kevin killing himself.
Hmm.
No, for Carrie killing himself
Right.
because he didn't look after him. So after he sold it, he was like, "Fuck it, like I don't
Hmm.
even." I don't even need to be cool with you like that. So
That's at that point
it
it ain't
was,
even no purpose.
yeah. And like I said, man, I didn't know anything like about this family. Never heard of them personally. I got to be honest, never heard of them. But that's the one good thing about like cinema though, because it ends up bringing, you know, people who wouldn't never be aware of some of this stuff. It brings
Hmm.
awareness to it because there's a few movies that are true stories that's like, oh shit, like for instance, fucking Remember the Titans. I ain't never heard no
Hmm.
goddamn T.C. Williams
Right.
in fucking Virginia. I ain't never heard of that school. But you know what I'm saying? Remember the Titans took that shit to another level. So I think
Shit,
that
nigga, Friday Night Lights was my first time ever hearing about Odessa, Texas.
yeah, and even and then but I will say, and I'm not trying to go down this road, but one thing that I did notice, and I've seen the documentary and I've seen the movie, but how they portrayed Carter High,
Hmm.
bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, you talked about that.
It was it
Yeah.
was it was some bullshit. Like it wasn't like that. And I think because of the events that ended up happening
Hmm.
after they won the championship, I can get how they wanted to portray them because of like all of those robberies that ended up happening after that.
Yeah.
But as far as the game, it was just the fact that they betrayed them as like dirty players of like when the quarterback was down and his helmet came off and they kicked the helmet and the helmet hit him in the face. They
Well,
said nothing
I'm be
like that
honest with
fucking
you.
happened.
I'm be honest with you. You when you make a movie like Friday Night Lights, you need a reason for the audience to cheer for these bum ass niggas. That's really all it is. That's I'm being honest with you. That's really what it is. These niggas go on to have this amazing story, but end up losing. And it's not even in the championship. These niggas
Yeah,
lose.
that's
So
yeah,
you need this audience to see these niggas and you know what I'm saying, feel for them and cheer them on and want these guys to really be, you know what I'm saying, something and go on to do something. But no, these niggas end up losing. They
yeah.
losers.
I mean, they were, and but no, I just think that like you know when you put together these true story movies and stuff like that of like
Mm-hmm.
especially like in that time period and stuff because the thing about like the 70s and the 80s and shit like that, like watching like true movies like from those times,
Mm-hmm.
man, this shit is wow, man. It's I don't know, like you get like a different to me, I get like a different type of satisfaction for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I told you, I waited and I waited for personal reasons. Like, you know what I'm saying? The whole story on Candy Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cause I watched the Hulu movie, which was by the way, like 3 years ago called Candy. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I liked it so much I did the pod on that shit. And
Right.
then Love and Death come out last year and the whole world just fucking explodes. I'm like, yo, I already know the Candy Montgomery story. Why everybody acting crazy now? So I finally watched that shit and I was like, yo, like watching things from like that time period, I don't know, man, it's different. Like watching a movie that ain't got no cell
I'm be
phones in it,
honest with
ain't
you.
really got
It's
no
movies that
technology.
don't the shit don't feel real, bro. It don't feel real.
I can see how you come
Like
down
it
to
really feels like a movie. Like we know that some of this shit happened, but it really feel like when I go like when the biggest thing for me watching like black exploitation films is the fact that like none of this shit seemed like it went down. Don't get me wrong. I know, of course, this not like based off of real shit, but none of this shit seemed like it would go down. But we've heard stories about, you know what I'm saying, how in those times like niggas was real big into karate. So like to know that this nigga's a pimp and he's a cocaine dealer and he also does karate is like the wildest combination for a nigga to be. But like there's nothing this nigga doesn't do. You know what I'm saying? Like I just be so enamored at the fact that like some of the shit that they come up with. Like not only does he deal cocaine, this nigga carries around a little thing on his neck where he does the cocaine. And
That's
this
funny.
nigga is doing karate. Have you ever? You cannot defeat a nigga who knows karate and does cocaine. I understand why he's a pimp. Who's gonna stop this nigga? Nigga, he first off he can't feel shit, and he can fight. You don't want them problems. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
man.
But it's just certain shit, bro. Like especially like you said from them times, man. Like think of Rambo, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like this nigga is in a random ass island in a random ass country, and he just doing all kind of shit to the native niggas of that country. Not other people who came over here to destroy them. No, to the people who live there. These niggas are supposed to know these woods and forests is better than anybody. Not Rambo. Not fucking Rambo. Nigga took down the whole army with a knife, nigga, and a bow and arrow. Nigga, he cold as ice. So like shit like that,
Oh man.
it made you like that type of shit, bro. You had to appreciate those movies because it's like in real life, this nigga would have been dead in a day. Shit, not Rambo. This they were shooting machine guns at this nigga. This nigga was just taking arrows out, pow, taking these niggas out, pow. Cold shit, bro.
Yo, this guy right
I
here.
appreciate that.
Nah, I mean I do too. And I think that people probably don't know, and I could be wrong on this. I could be just making this up. This is S. Foster fact. Is that whole term of I can't feel my face, like when Lil Wayne and Joel Santana did their mixtape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they got that shit from Boogie Nights, man. You know what I
Facts.
mean? When my dude was sipping the coke and he was just standing there like he
Cocaine
said, I
so
can't feel
pure,
my
nigga.
face.
It's so pure, nigga. You know what I'm
He was
saying?
like,
Speaking
he
of,
said,
I just started rewatching American Gangster
you talking about Denzel?
movie. Yeah, man.
Listen,
Great movie.
let me be quiet, man. Have we done that?
Great.
Yo,
I don't know.
we've had to.
I think we
I don't
have though.
know. Listen,
But
that's one of
it's
my
an
favorite.
amazing
That's
movie.
one of
It's
my
an
favorite
amazing
movies,
movie.
man. I
Yeah.
watch this shit all the time. I literally just watched it like last month. Like
I
I
was watching
fucking
it
love that
this
movie.
morning before I went to work, bro. It is an amazing
Man,
movie, bro.
have we? Hold on, wait a minute, man. Have we done this? I
I
don't.
don't think
I
so.
I honestly don't know. Let me look this shit up right quick.
I think we talked about it when we did Denzel's Appreciation.
That might be what I'm thinking about
Yeah,
because I don't know if we done that.
yeah. Actually, while you looking it
We
up,
we haven't. We haven't.
okay. Yeah, we got to do that.
That's what we doing next, goddamn it, because we didn't do the
Absolutely.
list.
Absolutely. Yeah. We totally forgot about that shit. Oh, we. But that's funny as fuck, bro. Another fun fact about this movie. I got a couple of these I could throw out actually. Um, so the Iron Claw is um is a move that is used by one of the wrestlers that Hulk Hogan used to go to war with in WWF called Iron Sheik. He uses that move. He uses like a variation of that move um, as a signature move. So you know what I'm saying? Like I said, the Von Erichs had a very, very like far reach and a very big influence in wrestling. Um, Kerry, the scene you talked about where he fought Ric Flair, um, when he had the prosthetic foot.
Mhm.
Well, that was at WWF. He was the only
Oh
one
shit.
to fight for. He was the only one to wrestle with WWF, but it was at the SummerSlam. What's the name for the where he won the Intercontinental Championship. So when I tell you like they really have like a major influence, and that's how the McMahons and the Von Erichs get together, and they you know what I'm saying like they have that influence because Vince McMahon had learned a lot from you know what I'm saying getting information from them about running his league and doing all that. Even though you know what I'm saying like his Vince McMahon's dad had some stuff to do with wrestling and all that other stuff, he eventually took over and made it what it is today. Um, Unfortunately, he has become or we found out that this nigga is a fucking creep. But you know what I'm saying? He made some major improvements on pro wrestling, and really because of him and his team, like pro wrestling is what it is today. But that's also due to the Von Erichs who brought their experience and their knowledge over to WWE, or yeah, I could say that WWE, and you know what I'm saying, pretty much helped Vince McMahon create the empire that he created today. So I thought that was dope. You know what I'm saying? The fact that they showed that. Um, trying to think what else, man. What else? Because it was somebody else in the movie. It was Ric Flair. It was Harley Race. I think they had like Macho Man in it for a little bit, but I don't think he was like talking or nothing like that. But it was supposed to be a guy that was supposed to be Macho Man in there. Like they had a few people that was supposed to be wrestlers in this movie that was like supposed to be like cameo, but they didn't really, you know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't they really
Yeah,
wasn't the focus. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Um, who was the tag team that they fought? The yeah, the Fabulous Freebirds.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I forgot which one it was, but one of those guys, um, was in. I want to say they were in WWF. Hold on, I'm looking right now. WCW for sure. Yep, and they end up in the Hall of Fame of WWF. That's what it was. But they definitely were on WCW. But the interesting fact about them is, did you know that their entrance music was "Freebird" by Leonard Skinner?
Didn't know that.
The Fabulous Freebirds. So they came out to Freebird. So you know how when dudes be like, "Play Freebird," yeah, that's
So
what.
they came out to a breakup song. Okay.
Hey man, that's what they plan to do to you. Play that. You know what I'm saying? Since we talking about wrestling, I always want to point this out because you brought up Booker T earlier, and we talked about Hulk Hogan. It's a famous clip going around where Booker T has a chance
Looked
at
up
the
and said,
title.
"Nigga." Hey, he put his hand on his face.
Bruh, the best promo ever. Best promo ever, bro. That, and then the one with Ric Flair and Dude going back and forth with the Woo contest. Them the two best promos I've ever seen in my life. That nigga said, "Hulk Hogan, I'm coming for you, nigga." And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why Hulk Hogan is racist today.
Oh man,
That is
that
actually why
shit was
he's racist.
hilarious.
Booker T was coming for him.
Yeah,
Hilarious. Hilarious, bro. Shout out to Booker T, man.
yeah,
One of the
man. Shout
greats.
out to Booker
Stevie
T.
Ray, shout out to him too. Harlem Heat was them niggas, bro. Me and my
Yeah,
cousin, we used to come out as Harlem Heat. Whenever we did like the fake wrestling and shit, we had to do tag
yeah.
teams. It was definitely Harlem Heat, bro. He always made me Stevie Ray, but I didn't care. I didn't give a fuck. I was just happy to be fucking Stevie Ray and Harlem Heat.
That's hilarious. Nah,
Because
that's what's up.
it wasn't a lot of like cool black wrestlers back in the day. I mean, like you had like Junkyard Dog. You had what's that nigga name? Um, Moolah or something like that. No, you had Kamala, the dude that was he's dressed up as like the African dude. It wasn't a whole bunch of like black wrestlers until
Yeah,
like the 90s. You had like Ahmed Johnson, you had Rocky Johnson, um, you had fucking fuck who was that? Terry Atlas. Him and Rocky Johnson was the first black tag team.
oh, okay.
Yeah, Rocky Johnson is the Rock's dad for those who don't know. Uh yeah, so you know what I'm saying? A lot of these niggas is definitely, you know what I'm saying, was around when the Von Erichs was getting busy.
Got
Yeah.
you.
So let's go ahead and get into it, man. Let's get into the Fire Flames.
Let's do it.
My apologies, that's awfully loud. Um so what are you giving this rate? I mean, what are you rating this movie?
Um, really the only person that I really knew was, I mean, like Zac Efron, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Allen White, who, you know what I'm saying, who I know him from Shameless and The Bear, you know what I'm saying? I like what he do. What's her name? Miri Tierney? Yeah, I fuck with her. And the dad was the guy from Mindhunters.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the cast was pretty good.
Hope
Um,
McElhaney, I think that's how you say it.
oh, okay. And like, I mean, like, look, man, it was a slow burn, man. Like, I understand they was trying to do the build up, but it was just too slow for me. But like I said, that turning point for me was the wedding, and
Mhm.
after that was about a four. But when you consider the first half of the movie, I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
Mhm.
But I still think that this is a good movie. I think it's a good story. If you've never seen it, I would suggest for anybody to watch it. But I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
That's what's up, man. So I'm gonna give it a three. Like I said, super slow burn. As a wrestling fan, it really didn't keep my attention. I fell asleep on this movie a lot. I tried my best. I haven't finished it yet. I got through most of it, but I have not finished it yet. And then a real quick correction: it wasn't Macho Man Randy Savage. It was Bruiser Brody. That
Okay,
was the other guy. And then I mentioned the Iron Sheik, but he changed it to the Sheik for the movie. But it used to be Iron Sheik. But the guy who plays Iron Sheik is Chavo Guerrero Jr., who used to wrestle for WCW, and is the
gotcha.
nephew of Eddie Guerrero, who passed. But yeah, I thought it was dope that what I'm saying they were able to tell this story. Um, and the cast, what I'm saying, the cast was amazing. Shout out to Zach Efron. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Dude has when I tell you this dude has created a hell of a lane for himself. He can do it all. You know what I'm saying? I thought that High School Musical was a farce. You know what I'm saying? But no, this nigga could sing. This nigga could play basketball. This nigga could dance. You know what I'm saying? This nigga's funny. I mean, he got the looks. Uh, I don't know what this nigga can't do. You know what I'm saying? Zach Efron is a very, very talented guy, and you have to appreciate him, uh, especially with it being, um, that the new class of actors and actresses are coming in. So yeah, Zach Efron is definitely one of those guys, man. Like you said, Holt McElhaney, we know him. I don't know Mara Tierney. Uh, the only reason I know Jeremy Allen White is because of the Bear thing. I didn't get a chance to watch Shameless, so um, other than that, like it's really not like a big cast. You know what I'm saying? Like this is really like a small cast as far as the actors go. But they found the right people to, what I'm saying, do what needed to be done, and salute to them for that. Um, but a story like this is one of those things where you need to tell this story. You know what I'm saying? So I did appreciate that though, but I'm gonna go ahead and give it a three. I feel like maybe if it was from somebody else who could have told this story with a little more pizzazz or something, I don't know, but yeah, I couldn't get into it. Um, well, let's get into coming soon.
let's do it.
All right, man, you already heard it. Like as I said earlier, we are going to do American Gangster. Um, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. This might be like top five movies of that decade.
Uh, I wouldn't even say probably. I would say yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like from beginning to end, this movie is amazing. The cast in this movie is amazing. You know what I'm saying? The story itself is amazing. Not only the story, they had a soundtrack for this movie that was already amazing in itself because of the time period. And to me, any kind of music from that time period sounds good.
Yeah.
I've rarely heard a bad song from that time period. But what was even crazier was the fact that Jay Z was so inspired by this movie. He said, "I'm gonna
Jay
make
Z did his
another
own.
fucking soundtrack.
Jay Z make his own soundtrack
I'm
of
gonna make
American
another
Gangster.
fucking soundtrack, bro." And that was amazing as
That's
well.
one of my favorite Jay Z albums. Is
Absolutely,
American Gangster.
absolutely, and it is a fire film, especially him being from New York, him being within him being alive during that time. You know what I'm saying? Especially with guys like Bumpy Johnson, Nicky Barnes. You know what I'm saying? Those guys being alive around that time, hearing those stories. Even Denzel talked about remembering when Nicky Barnes was passing out turkeys during Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying, to the hood. And then not only that, bro, I'm gonna tell you why this movie really resonated with me. Because in 2007, I had graduated high school. This was my senior year of high school.
Mhm.
And the reason that we even went to go see this movie in the first place, because we went to go see this as a group. Like me and
Mhm.
all my boys, we went to go see this as a group. I was a huge Rockefeller fan, still am to this day. Huge Rockefeller fan. I would argue niggas up and down why Rockefeller was the greatest music label out at the time. When I found out Jay Z had put out American Gangster and that the album was inspired by this movie, I had to go see the movie. And we went and seen this movie. Mind you, we in high school. We went to go see this movie. This shit was so good, nigga. We went back the next weekend to go see this movie. That's how good this movie was,
This movie is amazing, man.
man. So yeah, this movie is phenomenal. So that's what we'll be covering next weekend. Next episode. See, I'm thinking about how good the goddamn movie is, man. Um, but we'll be covering this movie next episode. If you haven't seen American Gangster, I promise you need to stop everything you're doing and go check it out now. And if you haven't seen it in a long time, it's on HBO Max. Definitely go back and watch that. That's one for the ages. It's a nice long watch. It'll sit you back. You're not gonna lose interest in it. Um, so have fun with that. Um, if you enjoyed this episode, if you didn't enjoy this episode, if you too used to take your pillowcases and your bed sheets, you know what I'm saying, and wrap them around your neck and make a cape to be a wrestler and using your drawers, or if you and your friends, you know what I'm saying, used to make belts, or you know what I'm saying, if you was one of the lucky ones and your parents bought you a replica belt and y'all used to pass it around like y'all was really wrestling, hit us up, let us know on the socials, man. Instagram and Twitter at View Anon Pod, Facebook VA Pod Watch Group, YouTube Viewers Anonymous. You can leave a comment in the on the videos, and patreon.com/Viewers Anonymous. Become a viewer and let us know how you feel. You can also leave comments there as well. Um, and if you like to follow me, hit me up on Twitter at Scoots Bronson. Link tree in the bio. You can follow me everywhere else there.
And y'all can find me at s.foster8 on Instagram, X, and TikTok. Follow the podcast 28 minutes or less. Last episode is 155, which is the Bear season 3.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've been hearing great stuff about that show this season particularly.
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
They did a really great job with it. Character development is like, for me, is as far as character development, this is one of the best shows
Okay.
to single out characters. Like, I think they
Yeah.
do a really good job with it.
I'm gonna have to check it out, man. And then last but not least, before we leave out of here, man, I've received great news. Um, it's looking promising for Apple TV Plus fans and those who have it. Severance season 2 is on the way. It is in the works and it is on the way. So if you watch Severance and you know what Severance is, and if you are as big a fan of Severance as we all are, then hey, it's coming. You know what I'm saying? Get ready because once it get here, we got to talk about this. We got to talk about it. Amazing show. This is probably one of the best TV shows I've seen ever. I'm
Wow.
talking about all around the board. This is definitely one of the best TV shows I've seen, hands down. So
Okay.
season 2 was definitely needed, and we left out on a weird note. We figured out some things, or we seen some things. Some things were revealed at toward the end that shocked the shit out of people. And yeah, so I'm excited to see how they play out in the second season because it left us on a cliffhanger. It left us on a real cliffhanger. You know what I'm saying? Um, But anyway, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. As always, your support is greatly appreciated. There could be no us without you. And until the next episode, like they say in Hollywood, that's a wrap.
Cut.